Our next speaker is Rohit Tandon. He's the Vice President, Strategy, Worldwide Head for Hewlett-Packard's global, Hewlett-Packard Company's Global Analytics. As the head of the Global Analytics, Rohit is helping driving the analytic ecosystem to support HP's vision and priorities through the delivery of cutting-edge analytical capabilities across sales, marketing, supply, finance, and human resources. Prior to joining HP, Rohit was the Executive Vice President of IBM's Global Processing Services Unit, where he was responsible for strategy, IT, quality, and transformation. During his tenure, he was instrumental in setting up and leading IBM's knowledge service business, including analytics, where he also acquired as a company for IBM. So prior to IBM, he drove the analytics business at Genpact, leading a team of 2,500 analytic practitioners. He brings with him 20 years of leadership across the IT, consulting, and advertising sector. He's worked for several senior positions at GE, Accenture Consulting, and JTW, and Ampersand. He holds a master's degree in computer applications. He holds a graduate degree from Stevens College and Delphi University. He's a certified, now, I read this bio, I'm saying, I think I want to meet this guy. He is a master black belt 6 Sigma. I have no idea what that means, but I think you're a pretty tough guy, I would guess. Okay. So the title of his address is Big Data to Drive Business Results. Everyone, please welcome Rohit Tandon. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much for such a wonderful introduction. Folks, Rohit Tandon here. Let me simplify what I do. I have a lot of fun sitting here at HP. I'm responsible for driving analytics across HP, and what it allows me to do is look at all the new technologies that HP gets out and use them internally within HP before we take them out to our customers. And then we help drive some of those capabilities with our customers as well. We also continuously look in the marketplace for new things to do, and again, try and find ways to make HP benefit from them, and then take it out to the customers. So I'm talking to you all today from sunny Palo Alto, though I wish I was with all of you in one of my favorite cities, Guadalajara. Miss being there, but we'll be back there again soon. What I want to do today is share with you a few aspects about big data, what we're doing in that space, where this is headed, and really give you an idea of the kind of work and applications that we've done in the space of big data. Because traditionally, when we talk about big data, you know, we used to have this whole discussion, what is big data? And half the people in the room didn't have a clue. I'll get to sharing what most of the other people thought. But first, if I go to the first slide. Really, we've seen and we've grown up in this exciting time where, from a scenario where in the late 80s, I got my first email ID and I was struggling to figure out what to do with it, to a scenario where today, every interaction that we've got is somehow linked to the internet. We've got people not just emailing, but tweeting, being on WhatsApp, all kinds of applications, and practically everything that we do is today connected to a backbone called the internet, which got introduced way back. We're really exploiting the broadband, the space out there, and cramming it with so much of data that the question is, what do we do with that data? It's also, if you look at it from the other side, it's becoming tougher and tougher to live in this world without being totally connected to that Internet of Things. I mean, I don't know how many of you tried to get the new iPhone and iPhone 6 and stood in those long lines. And sometimes when you were standing in the line, you figured out that there was 3 people standing only in the line next to you because they had actually checked the inventory at each and every store and figured out which store actually had an iPhone 6 of the color and size that they wanted. And they were there having already placed the order online. So the ability to really tap into that net, to be able to access it and to make best use of it lies in our hands. But that data is out there. That's really where we're heading. That's really what big data is. Now, when we earlier used to ask folks in the business environment what really big data, what they think big data is, they used to come back with weird answers like, whatever data the big man in the office has, he's always right, so that must be what big data is all about. But that's not true. If you go on the next slide, you'll see that this is what we termed at one point in time the hippo concept. It was really that the highest paid person's opinion was considered as the right data and the right information. This is no longer true because we have the ability to get our hands on data, not just within the business, but outside the business as well. Let's look at that on the next slide. And you'll see what's happened is we've moved from a world where we started with disparate data available in manual systems across the globe to them being available in automated systems and somewhere having the ability to look at that data and do what we call is hindsight, or looking in the rearview mirror, is really being able to say what happened in the past. Being able to figure out what happened in the past. Sometimes we could do it 3 months after the occurrence, sometimes a month, sometimes 15 days. But it was all backward looking. As that data became more and more available, and with the advent of higher speed access, we were able to start getting insights into that data, with more tools being available to drill into that data and to really what we call peel the onion. We were able to figure out what should we glean from that data. And then came the third and more complex part of, now that we know what happened in the past, now that we know what the data is telling us, what do we do about it? And again, the important factor of being two important factors. One, being able to understand that data. Two, being able to analyze it in a time frame that made the data that you've got still usable for the future. So there was no point in getting 1 quarter old data after 2 months and saying for the next quarter, we should take these 5 actions. The challenge was 2 months of the next quarter already gone before you get to that realization. So big data is not just about the quantum of data, it is about where you get that data from and how that data is available to you to be able to analyze and to make business decisions based on. So if you go to the next slide, I'll just quickly share with you what space we're talking about. And we're all familiar with the old space of traditional data, which came from our enterprise systems. There's a huge world out there that's generating so much of data that we talked about earlier, where estimates are that there will be 30 billion devices out there for just 8 billion people in this world. So all of this data that's getting generated, which is not numbers, which is mostly text, mostly contextual text, is available for analysis and to glean insights out of. One of my favorite examples in this space is, you go for a test drive for a car, and through half an hour of driving the car and testing it, at all points you're sharing your view and your opinion with whoever is from the dealer side sitting next to you. And then at the end of that half hour, they give you a form and they ask you to fill that out and tell you what you thought about the car. And my simple, humble submission is, for half an hour, I've already been telling the dealer representative what I think about the car. Why do I need to translate it into numbers and on a scale of 1 to 5 ratings and some verbal comments when I've already shared all of the information? That's the same space we're in the business world, in the real world out there. Information about what customers think about our products, information about what products are being evaluated as substitutes to us is all available on the net. We do not need to go out and do surveys or look deep into numbers and data to figure that out. At the same time, this is not the end. There is also an area which we're calling dark data, which we still don't have access to, which hopefully in the coming decades, we'll figure out how to get our arms around and have new technologies and new tools that my team and I can play with to come back with more answers. Now, if you go to the next slide, you'll see that one of the big challenges that we're facing is that most of the infrastructure that was built for a very different kind of world. Not for the big data environment where you need such high velocity of access to such huge volumes of data, but for an older generation where you could work on batch, where you could wait for things to come back to you the next morning. And this all has to change. So as we look at big data, we have to look at the infrastructure, we have to look at the technologies, and then we have to look at the services, all three around it. That's where you're seeing a lot more push towards cloud from all companies. Trying to move to the cloud allows you to get that availability as well as that scalability for the kind of data that you're looking at. On the next slide, HP is working with many customers across the globe to help them figure out where they are in the journey towards adopting a sustainable big data strategy that will give them return on their investment. What we find is that 90% of our customers are interested and keen to move in that direction. Some of them might not know how to get there. Some of them don't know what the ROI might be, but they are all committed and understand that they cannot survive in the future world without having the ability to harness this big data and to be able to analyze and take decisions based on it. So we're working with a large number of our customers to do this, and actually have come out with a new platform. On the next slide, I'll share that, which we call the Haven platform, which integrates some of the best of breed open source as well as HP systems to give you an end-to-end platform that you can use to capture, analyze, and visualize the data. We also have opened it out so that now what we call our N apps can be developed by not just us, but by the huge community of developers out there which has access to this. So it's getting more and more prevalent. More of our business partners and integration partners are using this platform to develop applications, not just for our direct customers, but even for their customers. This is really the future of where a big data environment is headed. And we'll keep improving on it. We'll keep enhancing it. Next slide just gives you a quick view of a few applications that we've built and that are available out there. They are, in this particular case, for IT management, as well as for marketing. In IT, there's a huge amount of data that gets generated when you look at your system logs, etc. Marketing, with the number of people you've got to interact with, huge amount of data. But I'll get to some more specific applications that we've done later on in the presentation. If you go to the next slide, this is a slide that I love because it has actually grown over the past few years. There was a time we would have such slides for simple data analytics, which would be numerical database analytics, where we used to talk and say, hey, we've got the ability and applications to serve you in various businesses, in various verticals and various horizontals. And at one point of time, frankly, the only application of big data that was talked about across the globe was that we can do sentiment analysis. And I think beyond a point, a lot of people got tired of listening to that and bored of it and kind of tuned off. But what we found is that we have the ability to drive usage of big data in not just sentiment analysis, but across the board, whether it is marketing to get an understanding of what our customers really want, not just their sentiments, what is their desires, what are their wants going forward, whether it is in the sales space to understand how can we identify the most potential buyers out there who we might not have tapped. Every company has this challenge of having too few salespeople to cover everyone. So you have to prioritize and figure out who to go after and who can you ignore for the time being, who has a higher propensity to buy and who has a lower propensity to buy. So you can direct your workforce and your sales force to first contact those people who might be giving you the dollar and signing on the check. So we've done a lot of that work. Supply chain, really trying to optimize the supply chain, matching our demand and supply with the huge spread of information of where the demand is coming from and what the potential supply sources could be. The ability to, in real time, match demand and supply and to divert based on advanced logistics planning, resources from one end to the other allows you to optimize your cost and your spend here. And more importantly, also satisfy customer demand. We've done a lot of work in some of the areas like HR and IT as well. But let me jump ahead and talk about a couple of very specific applications. So on the next slide, here's one interesting one. I thought you might like it, so put it up here. It's called what we call brand cloud. What's happened in the past few years is that while companies used to try and manage a consumer's perception of their brand, of their products directly or through some dealers, there is now a huge prevalence of what we call influencers in the web space. So they influence the buying decisions of a much larger set of people. When you go out there and try and figure out from your social media strategy perspective, who should you go and invest in? Where should you put your dollars? A lot of times you do not know where the clusters exist. And if you can figure out those clusters, you can focus your attention on a few key people in those clusters with a clear promise that that influence will go to everybody else in that cluster. It's like the good old days that if you can convince the head of the family, everybody in the family will buy the same thing. I know that's not true for families anymore, but that's what's happening in the social media space today. If you're able to convince a few of the influencers, a large number of followers of those influencers will make the same buying decision. So we've got a solution that focuses on that and tries to identify and minimize your spend to where it will get you the max return. Let's look at another one. Next slide. We're looking at predicting machine failure. Huge machines connected with the internet are able to give us their performance feedback and performance data on an ongoing basis. And here what I'm sharing is one of our large HP presses, which occupy half a large room, and have multiple points that go into printing large format output. And we've got sensors incorporated in these machines, and these sensors send us feedback as to when there is a potential failure of a particular part, or even one particular ink being used a little too much that it might run out during the course of a run. And our ability to intervene before that failure and minimize the downtime has a huge upside for our customers. We've done similar stuff on aircraft engines. We've done similar stuff on power systems, power generation systems, to really ensure that there is a higher level of availability for these systems. If I go to the next slide, Here's work we've done with some of our clients. Guess is an example. Hopefully most of you are familiar with this fashion brand in the US, and it's a global brand. And they try and look at their sales on an ongoing basis and figure out how should they change their promotion, how should they change the way they've organized within the store. And to be able to do that, they have to collect data from across all of their stores and be able to make decisions practically in real time. Unfortunately, they were unable to do this using traditional RDBMS environments, and they've moved now to HP's Haven environment. Vertica is the platform they're using to do all of this, and are able to do this on an ongoing basis and getting huge amount of upside because of this. Another one, Cigna, healthcare provider, has now used our platforms to give real-time access to its consumers to figure out how much have they spent on healthcare, how much more are their budgets, what more could they spend. Again, this was not available in the traditional environments that we had earlier. Air Nippon Airlines, all Nippon Airlines, the Japanese airline, they've done a huge amount of personalization based on data that we trap for them on their websites to figure out how they can sell more. And they've actually seen a 30% upside in their conversion from browsing to actually buying. Next slide, another interesting one. I'm trying to give you a flavor of different kinds of applications without getting too deep into them so that you understand how big data is now getting all pervasive in different arenas. NASCAR, one of our large clients, had a challenge. Every time it would rain, the races would stop and they would kind of lose a lot of connect with their people. So what they started doing was using some of our technology to get out to the people and start polling them for different things, start tweeting and capturing that information and displaying it live in the stadium. And that kept everyone engaged while they had these huge machines which was sucking away all the water from the tracks. Another one, Avis, they have around 5 million plus people accessing their website every day. They need to have the ability to analyze what's going on, make sure they have high availability, and make sure that they are able to understand what the customer is looking for. They're again using our platforms. A few more, next slide. UPS, they need to know where all the packages that they are that they've shipped out, that they're helping ship out across the globe, where are they? And we've given them the ability to know within 30 to 40 minutes of arrival, departure times, where each and every package exists today. Again, real-time availability through use of big data and our technologies. Another one is Comcast, which is the cable company, which is right now looking at what kind of programs people are watching across their subscriber base and trying to figure out and direct the right kind of campaigns to the appropriate subscribers, rather than getting out with a food networking channel to somebody who's interested in motorcycles. And then again, somebody could be interested in both of those, just like I am, but that's a different story. Healthcare, we've done a lot of work there, especially with Stanford's Children's Hospital, where we're tracking and capturing a lot of data from the sensors to figure out on a real-time basis how the little children are doing, how they're performing, how they're improving. Over and above that, we also have automated and digitized a large amount of textual data which is captured through the various diagnosis that is done across the board for these kids. What it allows is a huge amount of collaboration. It allows pattern detection. It allows us to figure out how well we could actually serve these kids, because we are able to leverage what we've done for one child with another. A couple more and I'll try and round up in the next couple of minutes. Vodafone, in the next slide. We've helped them by, they've got a large amount of IT systems as well as networking systems which continuously capture data. But that also means there is multiple points of failure. For them to be able to get to the root cause and be able to diagnose what to fix and where to fix is extremely crucial to give the customers the right kind of uptime experience. Again, we've done a huge amount of work with them on logging their data on our ArcSight systems and being able to analyze that in a real-time basis. We are actually now predicting where the failure might happen. So this is not directly off the systems, but pulling it into our ArcSight and then predicting where failure could potentially happen. Similar kind of applications are being done by us in IT ops across the globe. The next slide, another interesting one, which is in the area of fraud protection. The number of credit card transactions across the globe, huge. Just for example, Morgan Stanley has around 10 to 11 million emails relating to card transactions that they have to manage on a daily basis. We've deployed our solutions there to help in fraud prevention. Clearly, you agree that there's no point figuring out that somebody's trying to use your credit card 3 months after they used it. You'd rather know in real time if some usage is happening. So that's the kind of applications that we are in. That's the kind of space that big data is able to exploit today. And if I can go to the next slide, our approach in this space is we are given the platform, it's available. We've got an ecosystem which is developing apps on it. Developers can log in, open source, do their stuff, and roll it out for the businesses. We ourselves provide those services as well, but there's so much to be done that we've opened it out for the world. With that, come to my last slide, which is really that if you want to maximize your investment on big data, which hopefully most, if not all of you are thinking about getting in this space, you've got to make sure that you've got the right environment in terms of infrastructure. You've got to have the right management software and the capability on top of it. You've got to be able to derive insight from it because it's not just enough to capture the data. And then you've got to have the right people being able to forecast and plan for you going forward as to what do you do with that insight. We're available to help and we're happy to work with most of you, and all of you rather. It's something that we take a lot of pride in. It's one of the 4 pillars of our strategy going forward, and a lot of investment is going in this area. With that, the next slide. Next slide. I want to thank you all for giving me this opportunity. I'm glad that technology enabled me to get across to all of you. What it also it does not fully achieve is allow me to be with all of you and feel the warmth that I feel when every time I'm in Guadalajara. I love the city. My friends there know that, and I'll be back there soon. Wish you all a wonderful rest of the conference and a lovely time in lovely Guadalajara. Thank you.